Szechuan sauce? No. I want Szechuan sauce. Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Kendall Rick! My beloved Dum Dum! I'm Kendall Rick! 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 I'm Kendall Rick! Rick! Rick!
This video went viral a few years before on the internet. A few days later, that boy came out to clarify that it was all a joke. But some theories say that the one who manages his networks is his sister trying to wash his image, and the boy actually lost his mind. This is a dramatization of the theories that point to that.
My name is Mia. I am not a well-known person or internet celebrity, nor do I care to be. But for the wrong reasons, my brother Bill is. You may have seen the video of a man walking into a fast food restaurant, ordering a popular Rick and Morty sauce, and yelling out that he is Pickle Rick.
I'm Pickle Rick! Rick! I'm Pickle Rick! I'm Pickle Rick!
Everyone laughed at him. But the story behind my brother's craziness is much more tragic than you think. It all started during the Rick and Morty hype, when the series was at its peak of popularity. My brother was one of the few people who didn't watch it, but I insisted so much that he finally gave in. Needless to say, he liked the series very much. He finished all the seasons in just one day. After finishing the series, he started watching it again, and the day my brother lost his mind, he was watching it a third time. That day, my parents had asked him if he could pick them up at McDonald's since they had gone to get something to eat together with our younger brother. Bill told them he had to fix the car and couldn't pick them up, but I know this was a lie because while he thought I was sleeping, I saw him go out to the supermarket. The reason he lied was that he wanted to stay home watching Rick and Morty for the third time, and although this bothered me a lot, I didn't say anything. The tragedy came a few hours later. The cab my parents decided to return with would never make it to our house. It crashed violently into a wall. Soon after, I learned that the driver was working under the influence of alcohol. I lost my parents and younger brother that day, but what I didn't know was that I had also lost Bill. My older brother's reaction caught me completely off guard. When he found out, he just stared, frozen, without saying anything. Then went back to the dining room and watched Rick and Morty. He usually comments a lot on what he sees, but this time he just watched it quietly. When the season ended, he immediately replayed it from the beginning. After a while, he just slept, ate, and watched Rick and Morty. At first, I thought this was a normal reaction, but after a while I started to worry. Bill, I'm going to work. Would you like to go out for a bite to eat when I get back?
No.
Are you sure? We can go out for Chinese food.
I said no.
Okay. Hey, don't blame yourself for what happened. There was no way you could have known something like this would happen by not looking for them.
I don't blame myself for anything. It was the driver who was to blame.
Oh, okay. Good to know. You should just know that if you need to talk to someone, I'm here.
There's nothing to talk about. How many times am I going to tell you? It was not my fault. There's nothing to talk about. Do you understand?
Yeah, sorry. Out of nowhere, Bill smiled like a psycho and sat down to watch TV. He then burst out laughing.
I love this part.
Bill, those are the credits. The episode ended. As much as I wanted to accompany my brother, someone had to work, but I had a bad feeling. This was my first day at work after what had happened with my family. Everyone came to my office to give me words of encouragement, but in the middle of the day, someone came into my office with a different motive.
Sorry to butt in, Mia, but is this your brother?
Oh God, this can't be good. Let me see. When I saw my partner's cell phone, I closed my eyes and almost started to cry. My brother was at the McDonald's where our parents had gone before the accident. Today, you all know what happened in that video, but at the time, I was shocked. Josh, when was this video uploaded?
Let me see. It was uploaded in about 1 hour. And it already has this many views?
I looked at him a bit angrily.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mia.
It's okay. I have to talk to the boss and go home. That day, they let me go home early. On the way, I could only pray that Bill had come home. My prayers were answered because when I got home, I heard my brother's screams.
Hey, Morty!
When I entered the house, the light from outside invaded the whole house, which was totally closed and dark. I tried to turn on the light, but it didn't work. Someone had cut the electricity supply. With some fear, I climbed the stairs to go to my brother's room, but when I got there, it was empty. I went back to look for him in the dining room, but when I reached the stairs, I gasped in fright. The door through which I had entered the house was not only closed, but someone had blocked it with a piece of furniture without making a sound. I was locked in. I approached the piece of furniture and started to push it a little at a time to move it, but suddenly, something pushed me with all its strength and threw me to the floor. When I looked up in the direction of my attacker, all I could see was a sharp object headed in the direction of my face. I dodged it, and as a knife stuck where my head used to be, I saw Bill, with only a pair of underwear on, messy hair, and a demented look on his face.
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub!
What? Bill, what are you doing? I quickly stood up and went upstairs to my room. I locked myself in and shut the door as tightly as I could. On the other side, there was silence. I put my ear to the door to see if I could hear anything, even the slightest sound to indicate that someone was on the other side. With my scream, Bill rammed the door again and again. I was about to break. I had to find a place to hide quickly.
I'm Pickle Rick! I'm Pickle Rick! I'm Pickle Rick! Lubba-dubba-dub-dub!
When the police arrived shortly after, he was locked up in a police station for attempted murder. I'm sure the psychologists were going to refer him to a mental institution, but before they could, he took his own life. My psychologist told me that Bill could never get over the guilt of the cab accident, that he was just a fragile young man who, in order not to have to face what happened to his family, locked himself inside Rick and Morty. He repressed so much that he simply collapsed and lost his sanity. As for me, I deal with the loss of my parents and siblings every day, whether it's going to therapy or remembering the good times with my family. I could never watch Rick and Morty again, but to clear my head, I started watching BoJack Horseman, and unlike my brother, I only watch a few episodes a day. Scary Terry strikes again. A second homicide has taken place in 13C Elm Street. 44-year-old Linda Hayden was found murdered in her sleep this afternoon. Her throat had been slit with a sharp weapon, and she died choking on her own blood. She lived with her 15-year-old daughter, Samantha, who discovered her mother's bloody dead body in her bedroom this morning. Cops have been called to the crime scene, and our reporter managed to talk to the poor daughter a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at what Samantha Hayden had to say.
Mom was never an early riser, but when she didn't come downstairs for lunch, I got a little worried, so I went to her room to check on her. I knocked twice, but she didn't answer, so I opened the door and I saw, oh my God, I saw her neck was cut open and there was blood everywhere, on the bedsheet, the curtains, and the walls.
Did you see any more escape?
No, the room was empty, but there was something written on the wall with her blood.
What was it?
You had it coming, witch. Yours, Scary Terry. He wrote this with my mother's blood. I don't know what to do. I can't sleep in that house tonight.
Do you believe it's Scary Terry?
Of course it's him. He's crazy. Someone, please stop him before he kills again.
We can only imagine what horror young Samantha is going through right now. The sheriff went to the house on Elm Street, and cops are questioning every neighbor about the psycho murderer who calls himself Scary Terry. His first victim was 45-year-old Ronald Regan from the same neighborhood, who he killed the same way 2 days ago. But who is Scary Terry? He was just a fictional character from the popular sitcom Rick and Morty, but now he appears to be real as a nightmare. Is it the doing of some deranged lunatic, or is it some kind of ugly revenge from a man who both Mr. Regan and Mrs. Hayden knew? These answers are yet unknown, but what seems to be scarier is the question, is he done yet, or are there more names on his hit list?
Dude, what the hell is happening in our town? I looked at Liam. His face turned pale too. In the last week, some nutjob killer has struck our neighborhood. He is sneaking into people's houses and slitting their throats in their sleep. My brother and I were watching the morning news when we heard my dad walk in front of the main door. My dad is the town sheriff. Dad, did you find out who this Scary Terry is? I have no freaking idea, kiddo. Poor Ronald and Linda. Can't believe they are dead. We all went to high school together, and now they have been murdered by some psycho killer. God. My dad sat down at the table, burying his worried face into his palm. He took a deep breath and said, I'll be going out tonight. The cops will be patrolling the entire neighborhood, so keep all the doors and windows locked until I come back. Understood? Yes, Dad. Man, I need to get some sleep. If anyone calls for me, tell them I will be at the station by 5. Okay? Seeing my dad all tensed and tired, I could sense the gravity of the situation. He went to his room for a much-needed nap, and I sat beside Liam. Do you really think this Scary Terry took revenge on them? I don't know. Mr. Reagan and Miss Hayden were nice people. Why would anyone hold a grudge against them? Maybe they wronged this Scary Terry really bad. Hey, didn't Dad say they all went to high school together? Yeah, so? So, he has to be someone Ronald and Linda both knew, just like the news lady said. So you're saying Scary Terry also went to high school with them? Exactly. I rushed to the basement and brought out my dad's yearbook. Liam and I were going through the old pictures when suddenly the lights went out and we heard a loud thud upstairs. What is that? I looked at Liam with fearful eyes. He slowly got up from the couch and called out, Dad, are you all right? But our dad didn't reply. A cold shiver ran down my spine and I began hearing footsteps above us. Someone's inside our house. Is it Scary Terry? Liam walked to the kitchen and grabbed a knife. We both tiptoed to our dad's room. Dad, is everything? But as I pushed the door open, I saw a horrifying scene. My dad was tied to a chair, and a man dressed like Scary Terry was standing behind him, holding a miniature sword by his neck. He looked right into my eyes and said, Welcome to your dad's nightmare, boys. Dad, what's going on? Don't come in. Stay there. Why are you hurting him? I'm hurting him? I am hurting him? He and his selfish friends hurt my brother. They bullied him and tortured him so bad that my poor brother lost his mind. He became suicidal, and one night, he set his room on fire. He and my entire family burned down to ashes. If I hadn't been rescued on time, I would have died too. Saying this, he took off his cowboy hat, and finally, I saw his entire face. His face was burned. His skin was sagging under his chin, making him look worse than a corpse. Liam said in a fumbling voice, Please don't hurt our dad. He had it coming. He had it coming, just like Ronald and Linda. Now, the world will know the town sheriff and his friends are the actual reason Scary Terry came to life. He slit my dad's throat in one swift motion, and we saw our dad's eyes turn bloodshot. The veins in his forehead popped out in pain, and a choking gurgle came out of his mouth. His legs began shaking like a dying bird, and I screamed the loudest scream of my life. No! Dad! But Scary Terry didn't just stop there. He then held the same miniature sword to his own throat and said, I hope you boys learn from your father's mistakes. Don't ever bully someone, or they might come back to take their revenge. I would have ended my life long ago, but then one day, I saw Scary Terry in Rick and Morty. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could relate to someone. Do you know what it's like to grow up without a family? To see your burnt face every day in the mirror and recall that it was your own brother who was responsible for it? But then I realized I shouldn't blame him. If anyone is responsible for ruining my life, it was your father and his evil friends. I had my revenge now. I can die in peace now. See you in hell, bitches!
Once again, the Scary Terry murders ended on a sad note. The sheriff is now the third victim of this psycho killer, and he himself remains the fourth victim of himself. The town is shaking in fear, but also hoping to sleep tonight with this assurance that Scary Terry is finally dead.
Who doesn't like surprises? Like a birthday party or a gift that has been carefully chosen for you even though you didn't know it. I bet it feels pretty good to find out, doesn't it? But what about something bad? You would be absolutely terrified. Just a few months ago, I moved to another city so I could attend the university I wanted. Since then, I had been very busy, so I didn't get a chance to see my closest friends. Luckily, Eliza, Catherine, Justin, and I managed to get together on a Sunday afternoon. What can I say? We had a great time. In fact, we had so much fun together that I felt as if time had passed too quickly. Since when I checked my watch, it was already 7 p.m. I should go now, guys.
Aw, come on, Donald.
Yeah, man, stay a bit longer. Tomorrow is Monday, Justin.
You can always skip class, right?
You know I can't. Okay, send me a message when you get home.
Yeah, please.
After I said goodbye to my friends, I left the bar we were in and started walking towards the apartment I now live in. Even though the building was on the outskirts of town, it wasn't too far, so I didn't mind walking. I wasn't thinking of anything specific as I headed towards the place. My mind went from one memory to another and from one concern to another repeatedly. I was just distracted. Suddenly, I felt as if everything started to spin. I was so dizzy that my brain just couldn't keep control of my body, so I fell to the ground. I was able to realize that someone grabbed my arm and started dragging me into the woods. Oh, what? When I opened my eyes, the first thing I felt was intense pain in the back of my head. Shit! My vision was still blurry and it was dark, but I still tried to look around the place. It was a small room with what seemed to be a few odd pieces of furniture. I could tell there was a door nearby, but no windows were in sight. As soon as I tried to move, I realized that both my feet and hands were tied to the chair I was sitting on. What the heck? Help! Somebody help! The room fell silent after my screams, until I started to hear a reoccurring sound near me. Huh? It sounded as if... Hello, Donald. Did you shit your pants? Son of a bitch. What do you want from me? Are you going to try to take my organs out so you can have money to live your miserable life? What if that's what I want, Donald? What the fuck are you going to do about it? He had already mentioned my name twice, but I was so nervous that I didn't realize it until the second time. Who are you? Do you like my mask? Is this funny to you? Creep! I bet you think you're a lot better than me right now. Don't you, Donald? I'm not perfect, but at least I'm not a fucking kidnapper. And yet you deserve to be torn from this world. I was so confused, flustered, and angry that I didn't even know what to answer him, as it seemed as if nothing he said made any sense. Say hi to apartment 44, Donald. Douglas? I knew exactly who he was. When I moved into my apartment, everyone used to call me Douglas. It seemed like the neighbor couldn't really tell any difference between the two of us.
Oh, Donald, I know you're twin brothers. Stop messing with us.
The thing is, I didn't have a brother, much less a twin. I want to say, nice to meet you, Donald. I have known who you are for a long time. But you have been there believing that you are better than me and can replace me. You didn't think I'd let you do that, did you? Look, you're crazy if you think I want to replace you, man. I don't even know you. You just don't get it, do you? He stood right in front of me, grabbed the mask with his right hand, and took it off. What the fuck? The face in front of me was similar to mine. It was almost as if I was seeing myself in a mirror, but I couldn't confirm it due to the darkness. Without realizing it, I stared at him in silence. Oh, let me help you. The man walked somewhere behind me, and seconds later, the place was so lit up that I had to close my eyes. Shit! When I opened them, he was there again, in front of me. Why the hell do you look so much like me? This time, I was able to notice certain differences, such as the psycho's expression I had never seen on my face, as well as his horrible condition, since it seemed as if he hadn't slept in days, but the rest was too similar. The expression on your face. That's how I imagined mine was the first time I saw you. I felt silent once more. I was terrified like you are now. But then I understood. Someone or something cloned us. The government, maybe. I don't know. That's not what really matters. We're alike. It's something that can happen, you know? But I can't let it be. It's driving me crazy. There can't be two because the other won't be able to live in peace. The other? The other. The one who is less noticed. The one who is not the best. But I will be. I just have to get that skin off you. The man soon took out a knife from the right pocket of his pants. It was then that I began to shake it desperately in an attempt to free myself. You're only going to make things worse for yourself. The moment he started cutting me, I couldn't stop screaming. Stop! Before I passed out, I heard him say, "Fuck, this ain't gonna work with this knife." The next time I regained consciousness, I was alone, slowly bleeding to death. Apparently, he wanted to cut me with another weapon, so he delayed my death by putting a bandage on me. I can't imagine what would have happened if my friends hadn't reported me missing to the police, who were able to find me before Douglas continued. Soon I will have to attend the trial that will land him in jail. But I don't think I can bear to see his face. That face that is like mine, but perfect, without any scars.